Well, 49ers fans, I've got some bad news. It looks like the San Francisco 49ers season is over before it even starts.
No, we still faithful. I'ma put it all on the table. We forever faithful. Yeah, we still faithful.
What's going on, 49er faithful? You are tuned in to Keeping the Faith. I'm JD. And after today's joint practice down in El Segundo against the Los Angeles Chargers, we can safely say that the 49ers season is over. It's a wrap. The Niners will not do anything at all this coming season. Playoff berth out the window. Super Bowl contenders, absolutely not. Everything that you may think about these 49ers, you can just throw it out the window. It's done. It's over. The Niners will not accomplish anything this year. If you listen to the outrage on social media and some of the talking heads that thrive on negativity to drive clicks to their content. But look, it was one practice down in LA against the Chargers today, and the overreaction, the hand wringing, the panic button pressing has been at an all-time high here today following the Niners joint practice against the Chargers. I mean, kind of crazy if I'm being honest with you. Sorry for the false alarm or the scare at the start of this. Look, I don't actually feel that way because it's August. The 49ers haven't even started their season yet. There is no reason for anyone to overreact to what they read today and what a few people may have seen down in El Segundo against the Chargers. Everyone on social media today has been losing their ever-loving minds based on what happened down at practice today. And all I can say is that it was one practice. Now, we'll get into a lot more than just that, but I want everyone to take a moment before we really get into this live stream here tonight. Take a deep breath, because I think there's quite a few people that need to do that. Take a deep breath, maybe go outside and touch some grass, maybe unplug for a little bit. It's going to be okay. The 49ers will be just fine. And the purpose of tonight's stream, I just want to kind of go through what happened today and give my perspective and my thoughts on what occurred down there against the Chargers. But real quick, before we get into all of that, if you would like to help support the channel, if you enjoy what we do here on Keeping the Faith, there are a couple quick ways that you can do so. If you're interested in behind-the-scenes content, members-only live streams, members-only giveaways, hey, every single channel member will be receiving a Keeping the Faith channel logo sticker pack. You can sign up to become a channel member today by clicking the join button down below. Select one of the 3 membership tiers that we have available, and away we go. That is one quick way you can help support the channel. Also, throughout the course of the stream tonight, if you want to make sure that your question or comment in our live chat gets read during the show, you can always drop a super chat. Those jump directly to the front of the line and receive priority response. So those are the 2 quickest ways and best ways, quite frankly, that you can help support what we do here on the channel. Now, I know I hadn't been around since after the Titans preseason game Thursday night, but here we are. It is week 2 of the preseason for the 49ers, and they traveled down to Southern California today to battle it out with the Los Angeles Chargers and former 49ers head coach Jim Harbaugh. And based on all the reports coming out of there from some people, not everyone, but some people, I mean, you would think that the sky is falling, that the Niners have no shot at doing anything this season, that the Niners defense is worse than last year. I mean, all the craziness that comes with one rough practice. I mean, you guys know how it is. I mean, the videos all over social media today of the 49ers defense getting torched, the Niners secondary not looking so hot in all the social media videos going around. Reports that the 49ers offense struggled to move the ball a little bit, also worrying some people. look, I know that the title of this stream is an overreaction to the joint practice, but that's actually not what we're doing here. And you guys see the thumbnail of the live stream. I don't believe the Niners are doomed. I'm not overreacting to anything that we saw today out at Niners-Chargers joint practice because it's August, people. It is August. And real quick, I do encourage anyone who is watching this while we are live to participate in our live chat section throughout the course of the show. Let your voice be heard. Let your opinions be heard. I do enjoy interacting with you guys throughout the course of the show. I will get to your questions and comments later on. So be sure to, drop your own opinions, drop your own takes on what happened today down in Southern California with the Niners taking on the Chargers in joint practice. But look, I don't subscribe to the sky is falling narrative that is coming out of a lot of people's mouths today after what happened in practice. And I want to go through kind of what happened on offense, what happened on defense, and then we'll also, hit on some news and notes of the day. And I will, of course, take some of your questions and comments to round out the show a little bit later. But let's just get on into it because, again, I think the overreaction coming out of the practice today against the Chargers was absolutely insane. And anyone, I think, with a rational mind can see that things aren't necessarily as bad as you would get in a 6-second, video on Twitter. There's always context. There's always, some logic that goes into things. And instead of just freaking out or trying to like drum up clicks and views by being overly negative and freaking out, I'm not doing that. That's not what we do here on the channel. I'm not overly positive and I'm not overly negative. I try to stay as down the middle as I can when it comes to talking the 49ers. Now, there are certain things I will lean one way or the other on, but at the end of the day, I'm just calling it like I see it. And I know that, not being on one side of the fence or the other may not be good for the content, may not be good for the channel. People love the overreactions on either side, overly positive, overly negative. I understand that's what gets attention here on YouTube, but that's not how I do it. That's not how I talk 49ers. And I try to talk about things as they come, how I see them. If I think it's good, I'll tell you. If I think it's bad, I'll tell you. But I'm not coming to you with an agenda or a narrative or, I'm not going to lean one way or the other just for clicks and views and likes and all that stuff. That's not what we do here. We talk Niners. We talk about it rationally. We throw in, a little bit of, fanaticism, a little bit of excitement. Don't get me wrong. I get hyped up on several different things throughout the course of a football season. And I do get pissed off at several different things throughout the course of a football season. But that all comes with, being a fan of a team. So today, though, just what we saw down at practice, the overriding narrative is that the Niners are doomed. The Niners are just, it's the honeymoon's over. Raheem Morris sucks. The Niners offense isn't as good as everyone thought. Everything is getting kind of thrown out the window right now. And I just think it's funny because I really just want everyone to take a deep breath and just take a deep breath, relax, and look at this rationally for what it actually was. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. It was reported that the Niners offense struggled to move the ball during the move the ball period of 11 on 11s. And they had a little bit more success in red zone drills, but moving the ball in between the 20s against the Chargers was a little bit of a struggle for Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, and the rest of the 49ers offense today. But did anyone figure to mention that not only are you facing a better team in the Chargers than you were a week ago with the Tennessee Titans, but you're also going up against a Chargers team who was a playoff team a year ago, very well-coached team under Jim Harbaugh, right? But you're trotting out an offense, if you're the 49ers, that was missing Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk, Dominic Pooney, who recently suffered a concussion and did not suit up in this game, and George Kittle. That is 4 of your starters of an 11-man offense. A quarter of your offense was not on the field today against the Chargers. But you want to tell me that the Niners offense just isn't that good, and Brock Purdy's hot start to camp was all a mirage. You're hearing it all today if you're on social media, and refreshing over there on Twitter. Again, you're missing a third of your offense today if you're the 49ers. And not having Christian McCaffrey, it's really more than just missing one player. He is the most important player on the 49ers offense, and I don't think anyone who follows the Niners closely would disagree with that. Not having Christian McCaffrey on the field not only impacts your run game, but it hugely impacts your passing game because he is such a factor in the pass game. We all know that as people who watch the 49ers week in, week out. So not having Christian McCaffrey on the field as a player that defenses have to account for on every single snap, the defense is looking, okay, where's 23? Where's he at? Is he in the backfield? Is he in the slot? Where is Christian McCaffrey? He wasn't out there on the field today. That's your one guy. That's your chain mover. That's your offense, really, if you're the 49ers in terms of the most important player on your offense being Christian McCaffrey. He wasn't out there today. Again, Kyle Juszczyk wasn't out there today. So I would imagine anytime you don't have Kyle Juszczyk and Christian McCaffrey, you're going to struggle to run the ball a little bit. And not just that, you didn't have Dominic Pooney, who missed practice today with a concussion. And with having Pooney out of the lineup, not only are you missing your second best offensive lineman, arguably, in Dominic Pooney, what that did was force the 49ers to put Robert Jones at right guard as opposed to left guard. And then you had rookie Carver Willis starting at left guard. So it was a total domino effect on the 49ers offense today with Pooney out of the lineup. Now, again, while they may have struggled to move the ball in the move the ball period, the 11-on-11s, they did fare a little bit better in the red zone. And a lot of that was spearheaded by rookie wideout DeJon Stribling, who did snag 2 touchdowns in the red zone period, one from Brock Purdy and one from a leaping catch in the corner of the end zone from Mac Jones. Stribling didn't do so hot in the move the ball period, but got down to the red zone and made things happen. Brock Purdy and the Niners offense in general have been doing very well in red zone drills throughout camp, and that continued today. But look, when you're missing a quarter of your offense and then you're having to shuffle pieces around on your offensive line just to make things fit, that's going to impact your team one way or the other. That's going to impact your offense, especially going up against a good football team like the Chargers. The breaking news, guys, the Los Angeles Chargers are not the Tennessee Titans. Who'd have thunk it, right? So everyone needs to calm down. The Niners offense will be just fine when they get back Dominic Pooney, when Christian McCaffrey returns to the lineup, Kyle Juszczyk, when George Kittle returns sooner than later, they will be fine. What you saw today, or what you read today from the reports, is not an accurate representation of what the 49ers offense is going to look like. And again, I said it earlier, it's not about what you look like in August. It's about what you look like in November and December. So what I saw today frustrated me online and in reports and on YouTube and whatnot from quite a few people. Everyone is just all of a sudden the highest of highs last week. Oh, they look great against the Titans. All these rookies look good. Oh, the Niners, here we go. And now all of a sudden, after one joint practice or one rough practice, when you're missing a lot of your guys going up against an actual good NFL team, all of a sudden it's like the polar opposite. The season's over. Kind of funny to me, to be honest with you. Kind of funny to me. But offensively, they did all right. But they could have done better. But it's I mean, when you're missing a third of your offense, like, what do you kind of expect? And I'll say this. With reports being that the 49ers starters will be taking the field on Thursday or at least the majority of the starters, if the starting offense goes out there and they move the ball and Brock Purdy gets it into the end zone on that first drive, is anyone going to talk about the Niners offense from the joint practice today? I don't think so. So just keep that in mind before you hit the panic button and freak out. Let's get to the defense, because that was really the story of the day and the area that has a lot of people, at the very least, pretty concerned based on what they read and what they heard coming out of Chargers Niners joint practice today. Did the Niners defense get shredded? Yes, they did. Did Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense throw repeated deep bombs down the field against the Niners defense? Yes, they did. Did those videos look great on social media today, seeing guys like Diamador Lenore get torched and Ephesians Prysock get torched? It didn't look good. It didn't look good. But do they paint the entire picture? No, they don't. What you see in a quick 5-6 second video isn't everything. And what you hear from particular people who slant one way or the other also isn't reality. And again, that's what I try to do, is try to be as down the middle as I possibly can. Was it a good look to see Justin Herbert and the Chargers just throwing bombs down the field on this Niners defense? No, it wasn't. It's a concern. Raheem Morris has work to do, right? But does it paint the entire picture? Ask that question out loud. If you're sitting there watching this stream right now, I want you to say that out loud to yourself. Do 6-second videos paint the entire picture of what was going on down there at joint practice? The Niners defense was going up against, again, a playoff team from a year ago. And just like we mentioned, on the offensive side of the ball, missing a third of their offense, look at what the 49ers defense was missing today. No Nick Bosa, no Mykel Williams, right? And last I checked, when it comes to stopping the run and rushing the passer, those two guys are some of the most important members of that defense when it comes to those things. Last I checked, two players who will be starters on your defensive line were not out there today. So one would assume your pass rush wasn't as effective, and one would further assume that being that your pass rush wasn't quite as effective, that Justin Herbert would have a little bit more time and be able to hit those bombs down the field. Last I checked, cornerbacks, safeties, they can't cover forever. And a good pass rush helps a secondary more than anything else on defense, right? So when you don't have Mykel Williams and Nick Bosa out there, it's going to impact your defense. I mean, at the very least, an improved pass rush would impact the timing on throws, if not completely blow up a play, sack the quarterback in the backfield and whatnot, right? So not having Nick Bosa, not having Mykel Williams out there, it's going to help the Chargers look good. And I'm not taking anything away from the Chargers, because they went out there and they did shred the defense that was in front of them. All I'm saying is it's August. And when you don't have all your guys, just keep that in mind. That's all I'm really trying to say. And not only were they missing Nick Bosa and Mykel Williams, it was reported by multiple media members, not just one, and not just on the 49ers side. You had Chargers beat writers for ESPN putting out very interesting tweets that help paint a better picture than what those 6-second Twitter clips were. Let me go ahead and pull up a tweet from Chris Rim, who covers the Chargers for ESPN. And that way you guys can get a look of or get an idea of what I'm referring to. So here's the tweet from Chris Rim. I'm going to scroll down to the second little paragraph here. And it says, the caveat of the big passing day is that several of the offense's biggest plays may have been nullified or look different in a game when defenders are allowed to hit the quarterback because the Niners D-line got pressure throughout. Most notably, Osa Odigizua, who I charted with 4 pressures, the most of any defender. And it wasn't just Chris Rim, who covers the Chargers for ESPN, that said that Osa Odigizua was wreaking havoc. You had multiple others crediting Osa Odigizua with up to like half a dozen sacks today. But those sacks weren't actually sacks because it's a training camp practice. You can't hit the quarterback. You can't sack him. You can't bring him to the ground. So they're going to finish the play. So some of those big plays, those crazy highlights that you saw on Twitter today, wouldn't have actually happened in a real game. So keep that in mind. That's one of my biggest takeaways of today, because all you saw repeated highlights. Oh, they're throwing it deep again. Oh, man, they're cooking the Niners defense again. The Niners defensive line actually got after Justin Herbert. They just couldn't touch him, and Herbert's going to complete the pass. Herbert's going to stand in there for the extra second and be able to complete the pass because they're not actually taking him to the ground. So just keep that in mind when you're reading the reports and you're listening to certain people talk about what happened down there in El Segundo today. And keep in mind, I wasn't there, so I can't give you something with 100% certainty or accuracy, but I'm just going off of what I see and what I've been able to gather from various reports today. And I'll be real with you. I wasn't mad at those videos of the Niners defensive backs getting torched. You know why? Because it's the first time you've really heard about some real adversity in Niners camp. And what this is going to do is make Raheem Morris have to evaluate things, watch that terrible film, see what he did wrong, make adjustments. And it's going to be a good test for Raheem Morris on Thursday, because the Chargers starters figure to play just like the Niners starters do. Again, you will be missing, your fair share of impact players on defense and on offense for the Niners. But this is a good test for the 49ers. The Titans were not a good test. Not in a joint practice, not in the game. You're going up against a playoff team. You're missing a lot of your best players. Stuff like what happened today will happen today in situations like this. And I couldn't wait to go live tonight to talk about this, because I just kept consuming all different content all day long. Who did what. And I couldn't wait to go live, because it's like everyone's just freaking out, and I'm not that guy typically. And I just knew that the overreaction wasn't the reality. And I mean, tweets like that from Chris Ram talking about, a lot of the Chargers' biggest plays of the day wouldn't have happened if it was a real game. And yet you have people running with it as if, oh, the Niners they got absolutely destroyed today. And again, I'm not making excuses for them. I'm not saying that they didn't give up a lot. I'm not saying that they didn't have a bad practice. All those things are true. All I'm saying is it wasn't as bad as everyone says. And there's a lot that they can learn from it. You have a lot of young players who are going up against guys of that caliber for the first time. It's the preseason. It is August, people. Everyone needs to relax. Everyone needs to relax. And again, if the Niners defense goes out there on Thursday and puts together a decent showing, maybe gets the Chargers in a 3-and-out, maybe generates a turnover, is anyone going to talk about this joint practice today? No. And one last point. Like I said, it's not about how good you are in July, in August, in training camp, or the preseason. It's about where you are in November and December. And this team has a lot of young guys who figure to contribute this year, who are going to, improve throughout the course of a season and get better. And I'll just say this. I remember last year going into the season, did anyone have the Seattle Seahawks as a Super Bowl contender going into the 2025 season? Better yet, did anyone have the Seattle Seahawks as a Super Bowl contender or winning the Super Bowl after week 1 when the 49ers went up to Seattle and got the win to start off the season? I was at that game, by the way, up in Seattle last year, week 1. So all I'm saying is a lot can change throughout the course of a season. And 9 times out of 10, the team that you are to start the year is not the team that you are to finish the year. So freaking out right now in an August joint practice is stupid to me. Now, should it raise some alarms? Should there be some concern? Can we do some soul searching, a little bit of looking in the mirror and seeing what we could do better? Absolutely. But I mean, you've got people just throwing in the towel and writing the Niners off after a rough practice in August. And to me, that's pretty laughable. I just don't get it. I don't get it, if I'm being real with you guys. Shout out to DS Niner fan for the $2 super chat. Thank you, man. I appreciate you very much. He says, Cowie makes the 53, yes or no. Get back to me after the game on Thursday, because he hasn't shown really anything yet. Get back to me after Thursday. Gun to my head, I don't think so. I don't think so, but we'll have to see what happens. I do appreciate the super chat, though. Thank you so much. If anyone else wants to make sure that their question or comment gets read, you can always drop a super chat. Those do jump to the front of the line. I see a lot of you guys trickling on in here now. We've been live for about a half an hour, so thank you for showing up. You know, better late than never. Shout out Papa J. Shout out NASCAR Man. Says 49ers are not doomed. It's practice. Exactly. We agree. Salvador in the building. What's up, Salvador? Appreciate you for tuning in, my guy. Scrolling through the comments here. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and participating in the live chat. I always like to see what you guys have to say throughout the course of a stream. Backwoods Bully says it's practice and then preseason. They don't matter. I mean, it all matters, but it isn't like a determining factor of anything. You know, again, who had the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl going into last year? Who had the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl after the Niners beat them week 1 up in Seattle? And I was in the stands talking shit to Seahawk fans with a Hawk Hater jersey on my back. You know? Nobody had the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. And guess what? A lot of those young players that they got, a lot of the new players that they got, they took time to gel and get better and improve. And they hit the ground running going into the playoffs. They were a well-oiled machine defensively going into the playoffs. And, you know, the rest is history. And I'm not saying the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm not saying their defense is going to be comparable to Seattle or anything like that. All I'm saying is that it's August. Hit the panic button when it's November. Don't hit the panic button in August. Hit the panic button if you start the season, 0-2. There are different times where you can freak out and overreact to stuff. But a preseason practice or a joint practice in the preseason is not one of those times, especially when you're missing a ton of guys who will contribute to your team in a huge way this year. And again, I'm not making excuses for the offense or the defense. I'm not saying that there is not room for improvement. What I'm saying is use a little brain power, a little context, never hurt anybody, So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Let me move ahead to some of the news and notes of the day, because there were quite a few nuggets that came out of practice today that are worthwhile for sure. And let's start off with the news that Kalon Black, the 49ers rookie running back out of Indiana, finally returned to practice today, seemingly out of nowhere. It was unexpected. When I got that notification that Kalon Black was in uniform and was set to practice today against the Chargers, I said, oh, where'd this come from? Okay. Kalon Black, who had been out since August 3rd with an adductor injury, which is a groin injury. And he finally took the field again in a Niner uniform and looked good by all accounts. Fresh legs, I'm sure, helped. But Kalon Black looked like a guy who hadn't missed any time, according to a few of the beat writers. Ripped off quite a few big runs, even showed some hands in the passing game during team drills. So getting Kalon Black back in your backfield, say that 5 times fast, is a huge boom for the 49ers offense. And Kalon Black is expected to play on Thursday, so I'm looking forward to seeing what the rookie can do in his first game action, albeit preseason. Definitely encouraging to see Kalon Black out there in a Niners uniform, and by all accounts, looked pretty good. I mean, the Niners have had 4 street free agents taking the bulk of the carries in practice for the last couple of weeks. So getting one of your guys out there today, finally, who you figure will be getting, a good number of touches this year, it's encouraging, especially when you hear that, hey, he's been out of practice for 2 weeks, and then he goes out there against the Chargers defense and kind of tears them up a little bit. Good to hear from Kalon Black. Speaking of the injury front and running backs, Kyle Shanahan after practice gave an update on Christian McCaffrey, who had been out for a little over a week and a half-ish, maybe almost 2 weeks, with what they are describing as tightness. They're not saying where he's tight. They're not saying, what's tight, anything like that. But what Kyle Shanahan did say should kind of calm everybody's nerves, especially when it comes to the rumor that's been circulating the last couple of days that Christian McCaffrey has been sitting out practice due to wanting some more money and it being a contract-related issue. Here's what Kyle Shanahan had to say. I think people make a lot of assumptions, and that would be one that they're wrong on. And he also said, if it were a game week, Christian McCaffrey would be playing. So I think people can take a sigh of relief that it's not a contract thing. It's not a hold-in thing. There is some genuine, quote-unquote, tightness, if you will. But if it was a game week, he would be playing. As many have said, it sounds like they're just kind of load managing Christian McCaffrey. They're trying to make sure that he's there for week 1. These preseason practices, training camp practices, preseason games, none of that stuff actually matters for Christian McCaffrey. What matters is getting him healthy and on the field week 1 when the Niners are in Australia taking on the Rams. So however they feel it's best to go about making that happen, I'm good with it. And based on what Kyle Shanahan said today, I'm not worried about the injury. Never really was. And I'm also not concerned about it being a contract issue, a hold-in or whatnot. On the injury front, Shanahan also spoke about Nick Bosa, who has been out of practice since August 3rd with some soreness. It was later revealed to be tendinitis in his surgically repaired knee. But Shanahan made some very good comments there about Nick Bosa. Let me go ahead and read those to you. He's making a lot of progress, Shanahan said. He has a lot less irritation, soreness, and tendinitis, whatever you want to call it, than he had last week. So we think he's going in the right direction, and we see him similar to Christian. Again, I think Nick Bosa falls into the same boat as Christian McCaffrey. They're just trying to make sure he's ready to go for September. There's nothing that this team could learn about Nick Bosa or Christian McCaffrey, for that matter, in a practice or a preseason game at this point. And what's funny to me is the one little part of this quote from Shanahan. Let me read it to you again. He says, he has a lot less irritation, soreness, and tendinitis, whatever you want to call it. So that makes me even doubt that there's tendinitis to begin with when he's kind of just spitballing there. Irritation, soreness, tendinitis, I don't know. Whatever you want to call it, guys, I think Nick Bosa is just fine. I think Christian McCaffrey's just fine. And I think both those guys will be on the plane to Australia when the 49ers take on the Rams. And they'll be out there on the field. It really sounds like they're just taking every precaution possible when it comes to the two guys who I think are probably the most indispensable pieces of the Niners offense and defense. I think it's pretty cut and dry, pretty simple. We did receive some not so good news, not such a great update on defensive end Mykel Williams from Kyle Shanahan during his post-practice presser. Kyle Shanahan says that it is a long shot that Mykel Williams will take the field for week 1 in Australia. Now, Mykel tore his ACL, I want to say it was week 8 last year of the 2025 season. So his timeline is a little bit different than Nick Bosa's. And Shanahan said it's a long shot that Mykel will be out there on the field week 1. Kind of a bummer, but not totally unexpected. Here's what Shanahan had to say. He's further away than those other guys you just asked about, but we do think he's close. I do think week 1 would be a long shot, but we haven't ruled it out yet, but he's progressing very well. I kind of put it like this. If there wasn't a 15, 16-hour plane ride to Australia, he would probably be suiting up, is my guess. And it's not just the 15, 16-hour plane ride to Australia. People are forgetting there's a 15, 16-hour plane ride back from Australia as well. So that's why guys like Mykel Williams, guys like George Kittle, I think they're going to be conservative with, and I don't think you're going to see those guys out there week 1, as much as they want to maybe lead you to believe that they may play week 1. I think the Niners aren't stupid, and I think the Niners are going to do the best by their players in that regard and hold them out of week 1. If not for the injury rehab, it's for the plane ride alone, because the plane ride is not good for the swelling and the irritation as these guys are rehabbing from those serious injuries. And looks like Mykel Williams, though, according to Kyle Shanahan today, is a long shot for week 1. Next up on the injury front, and I'll say this. Luckily, it doesn't sound like there was anything serious that took place injury-wise for the 49ers against the Chargers today. Meanwhile, on the Chargers side, they had 3 starters go down with injuries. A couple guys carted off. I mean, brutal day for the Chargers injury-wise. But as far as the Niners go, nothing really serious went down at practice today. Mike Evans did leave practice early and was seen with ice wrapped around his left foot and ankle, but later was seen with that same wrap. It was off of his foot and ankle, and he had it wrapped around his quad, which we know he had strained recently and missed some practice time. So it sounds like, they were just being precautious, taking it easy on Mike Evans, gave him a quick day, and Shanahan basically said as much. He says, they just said he has some tightness, so we're being smart, taking him out. See, there it is right there. He says we're being smart and we're taking him out. I don't think it's anything worse, so we'll see when we get in here or get in there, but nothing I'm worried about right now. So Mike Evans, maybe a little dinged up a tiny bit, but nothing to be overly concerned about there. So that rounds out some of the news and notes that went down after practice today. If you guys have any questions or comments from the joint practice today or the Niners in general, now would be the time. Let me go ahead and take a few of your guys' questions and comments before we go ahead and wrap things up. Shout out Hector Trabajo Trabajo. First time I've seen you in the chat. He says, I heard it was precautionary. Exactly. Sounds like it to me. You and I are on the same page. Let's see what else you guys are saying here in the chat. Cowie Chipto says, put Mykel on the PUP and bring him back for Seattle. I would venture to guess that could be potentially what they do. George Kittle, I don't think they're putting on PUP to start the year, but Mykel Williams, I could definitely see that as maybe the plan of action. Have Mykel miss the first 4 games of the year, but we'll have to see what happens there. Let me scroll through and see what you guys are saying. Now, here's a good one from my guy, Papa J. He says, I like what the Niners are doing in regards to small strains. They're making sure that they're taking care of those injuries before they aggravate them more and become a major problem. Yeah, they're just being cautious with a lot of the small little bumps and bruises, you know. Not a bad thing. Just scrolling through the chat here, make sure I don't miss anything. I like seeing all you guys in the chat chopping it up. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in. 415 Keys says defense got cooked today, I heard, and offense wasn't good. Keys, you're just tuning in, my friend. Do me a favor, and when the stream is over, or right now, rewind and listen to probably about the first half an hour of the stream, because did they get cooked? Yes, but was it as bad as everyone said? Absolutely not, and I provided some context as to why. People are kind of freaking out, and all I'm going to say is it's August, people. It's August. And again, if the Niners offense and defense go out there on Thursday and put up a better showing, is anyone going to be talking about this practice today? No, absolutely not. Hector Trabajo with a good question, and I think we'll end the stream here. Do you think we should go after Vita Vea? I think that, how should I word this? Would I like to have Vita Vea on the 49ers? Absolutely. He would help shore up the run defense, and you could imagine an interior defensive line of Vita Vea and Osa Odigizua. That would be problems for any opposing offense that the 49ers face this year. You throw in, Nick Bosa and Mykel Williams, and you've got yourself quite the recipe for success on the defensive line. But I just wonder, like, not only how much draft capital would you have to give up for Vita Vea? And, it'd probably be like a second or a third round pick. That's even if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers want to trade him. And all reports are that they don't. But not only would you have to give up, some draft capital for him in a 2027 class that is expected to be historic, you're also going to have to pay Vita Vea. And he's seeing some of the big contracts that have come out for defensive tackles. And Vita Vea is 31 years old. So do you want to give long-term big money to another aging player on this team? I'm not saying he can't help your team. I'm not saying I wouldn't love to see Vita Vea in a 49er uniform. I absolutely would. But I don't know how practical it is. And really, outside of Alfred Collins getting off to a slow start here since coming back from his shoulder injury in camp, like, I've liked a lot of what I've seen from the 49ers defensive line when it comes to training camp reports and in the preseason. I mean, Grayson Halton looks like he could be, a big-time contributor as a rookie. James Thompson is built like a damn house and as strong as an ox. Bryson Eason has shown flashes of some solid play as another undrafted rookie free agent. Now, of course, you want Alfred Collins to kind of get into better shape. CJ West has been kind of in and out of the lineup with injuries and whatnot. Could they upgrade on the interior of the defensive line? Absolutely. But I just have concerns about how it would impact the team beyond 2026. Now, if you gave me a crystal ball and you said, hey, the Niners trade for Vita Vea, and guess what? That's the determining factor as to whether or not they win the Super Bowl, then sign me right up, trade whatever the hell you need to. But considering that they're going to have to pay Vita Vea, because that's what this entire thing is about down in Tampa, is Vita Vea wants, a new contract, I have concerns. That I'm not saying don't do it. All I'm saying is I would have some concerns Would I like to see it happen? Yes. If I woke up tomorrow and we got the breaking news that the Niners traded for Vita Vea, would I be making an instant reaction video going crazy and being excited? Yes, I would. But I'm just saying I would have some concerns at the very least because the Niners are in a serious cap predicament in the coming years. It's not a joke. It's not pretend. It's legit. And I think if you brought in Vita Vea and you signed him to a huge deal, you may be having to say goodbye to some other guys. So, we'll see. Again, the Bucs don't even sound like they want to trade him. As I saw someone in the chat say a moment ago, the Cleveland Browns said they weren't going to trade Myles Garrett, and then they turned around and did it. I mean, stuff like that happens all the time. I understand. But I would imagine if you were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and you had any intentions of trading Vita Vea, we would have heard about this around the draft. They've known all offseason that Vita Vea wants a new deal. Why didn't we hear any rumblings about this around the draft? Because I really don't think at the end of the day, the Buccaneers are seriously considering trading Vita Vea. I don't see it. I feel like if it was a serious thing, you would have heard about it around the draft because I'm sure Vita Vea and his representation have been talking to the Buccaneers since February about a new deal. And if the Bucs thought that this wasn't something that they could get worked out, I think you would have heard about this more around the draft when they could have made a trade then. But we'll see. I could be wrong. Once again, shout out to everybody who's tuning in here tonight in this overreaction stream based on the reports coming out of Southern California today with the Niners and Chargers joint practice. Again, take a deep breath. If you're just tuning in, I'll say this. Take a deep breath. Maybe go touch some grass. Maybe log off of Twitter and relax. It's August. This team is missing a lot of solid contributors on it. And not only that, again, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the big plays that you're seeing on those highlights going around on social media right now would have been blown dead had it been a real game. But because they can't touch the quarterbacks, they're going to finish the play. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying don't be concerned. I'm not saying Raheem Morris doesn't have any work to do. I'm not saying that this defense needs to lick their wounds because they got punched in the mouth today. They absolutely did. But all I'm saying is just relax a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. The sky is not falling. Everything's going to be all right. And again, I've said this a few times this stream. It's more about where you are in November and December compared to where you are in August. I think it's a good spot to go ahead and wrap up the stream. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Shout out to DS for the $2 super chat earlier during the show. Much appreciated. If you guys would like access to behind the scenes content, members only videos, members only live streams and whatnot, click the join button down below. Become a channel member today. I'm going to be going crazy with the members only content once we get the season going. Also, keep in mind, not keep in mind, but let me inform you guys. When the regular season gets here, I'm going to try my best to have a consistent stream schedule going, and I'll also be posting videos and whatnot throughout the course of every single week. But I will try and have a consistent schedule set up for the regular season. I know things have been a little inconsistent with me here and there. Going to try and work that out and have a set schedule. Now, I will say some days streams may be a little bit earlier. Other days streams may be a little bit later, but that's just how it goes. Your boy works a lot. I love doing this here on YouTube, but it's not paying the bills. So, I got to do what I got to do. But with that, we will go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow here Wednesday evening. We will be back live because I want to give you guys my thoughts and my perspective going into this week 2 game against the Chargers. What do I want to see in Thursday night's game? We will talk all about that here tomorrow, right around 7 p.m. or so. Make sure you have your notifications on so you never miss a live stream or a video. We will be back tomorrow. And then, of course, on Thursday, we have the game. So we'll have plenty to react to there. Keep it locked right here on Keeping the Faith. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Everyone enjoy the rest of your evening.